Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's largest platform for entrepreneurs. If you've got any questions related to any aspect of your business, we've got it covered right here on the show. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. Tonight, we're bringing you part one of our masterclass on wealth management, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you should be looking at when it comes to investments, when it comes to savings, all of that and much more being tackled by our expert panel. Let me quickly introduce them. Nilesh Shah, Managing Director, Kotak Mutual Fund. Nitin Jain, MD CEO, Edelweiss Wealth Management. Yashish Daya, Co-founder, Group CEO, Policy Bazaar. Nikhil Kamath, Co-founder, Zerodha. Today about taking care of your financial health. What should you do? What shouldn't you do? If you're an entrepreneur, if you're someone young and starting out, if you're someone perhaps who's not necessarily based in a metro, if you're someone who's never really managed your finances wisely before, all of that will be tackled on today's panel. Let me start by really asking how each of you on this panel perhaps has been managing your health, your wealth, and any personal anecdotes you'd like to give us by way of opening comments. I want to start with Yashish. Yashish, what would you like to tell us?
From a financial perspective, I'm largely conservative, extremely conservative. From a health perspective, of course, it's quite okay known. I take part in a lot of competitions. Of course, there have been no competitions in this year, and which is fine. But the training is on. It's difficult to train sometimes when you're a competitive sports person. It's difficult to train when you don't have a set goal. But I somehow managed to keep it going, and I feel good about everything. But yeah, that's how it is.
Let me come to you, Nikhil. I do want to talk about what you would want to tell our viewers, just as way of opening comments. What should you do? What shouldn't you do? And just a personal perspective that you could give them about what has really been working for you.
Well, firstly, I'd like to advise everybody to invest in equity. It benefits everybody on this panel here in one way or another. In terms of what you should do, I think. Well, the same rules apply that have applied, through the years. Diversify, keep stop losses, don't have too much exposure to one asset class, especially when the markets are as expensive as they are today.
Two market veterans on the panel today needing absolutely no introduction. Nilesh, to you first. What words of wisdom do you want to start today's masterclass off with?
So, I practice what I preach. I have advocated regular investment, systematic investment over the last 3 decades. I have done the same thing and benefited from it. I also recommend asset allocation, diversify yourself into debt, equity, real estate, commodities, and offshore assets. And I recommend people to be a long-term investor. So these 3 simple sets, regular investment, long-term investment, and diversified asset allocation, has helped me, and I'm sure it will help every viewer here.
Nitin?
So first of all, I must say that coming from a business family, I understand the pains of building a business, and I know what it takes to build a business and doing business in India. And sometimes I just think that all of us who are involved in building businesses, we tend to fall in love with our businesses. So one simple advice that I would give to all the entrepreneurs is, please keep your business finances and personal finances very independent. And I think it's very important to be diversified. And like I think Nilesh said very articulately, it's very, very important to focus on asset allocation. As long as you are diversified, as long as you are focused on asset allocation, I think that's just taken care of. Disproportionate focus on any one specific asset class, whether it is equities, whether it is fixed income, does not tend to work out well in the long term. And I think there are some very, very high quality advisors in the market. So it's very prudent to actually depend on some high quality advisors to seek help and depend on them as experts.
Okay, so there's some data I was reading which says that 50% of Indians, pretty much a little more than half really of Indians save anywhere between 0 to 20%. So nearly half of India's population is not saving at all. Or we haven't even touched the point of investments. What's really going wrong, and how can that perhaps be changed? And how would experts like yourself perhaps through this masterclass encourage more and more people to look seriously at savings and where they're putting their money and how they're saving? Open to all four of you. Nilesh, to you first though.
So one, I really suspect this data. If you look at housewives, they normally do a Vichy with a roadside jeweler. They go and deposit money every month for 11 months, and 12th month jeweler kind of pays them to buy a jewelry. This data is never captured in our statistics. I think by and large Indians are savings oriented. The poor people who were staying in slums and who didn't have safe storage facility, they were buying gold and still saving something. So my feeling is that our savings culture is good. There's nothing wrong with it. Most Indians will always believe income minus savings is expenditure, rather than like American culture where income minus expenses equal to savings. The real challenge for us is in investing. Most of our investments was directed towards real estate and gold rather than towards high yielding but risky assets like equity. There has been change in the recent times. People are opening demat accounts and going directly into stock market. People are using mutual fund, but still our investment is dominated by real estate, gold, which are not necessarily the best producing assets. So our savings is fine. We need to focus on our investments so that we can generate better return.
Nikhil, let me come to you.
The problem with saving in India, historically, a lot of the money has gone into real estate. If you look at a middle class family in the country today, a significant portion of that wealth is in that home they live in and they own and maybe have a long-term loan on. I think the problem with that much allocation to real estate is it's very illiquid. And to a large extent in India, when residential rental yields are so little, even if they were to monetize it in some kind of an emergency, I don't think it's the best place to park that much of a family's capital base. So I agree with what Nilesh was saying earlier. I think not just diversification amongst equity, but amongst asset classes is very important. And it would be prudent for the people in our country, to not just have one asset class dominate their portfolio, but have some real estate, some gold, some equity, and some fixed income, which is probably as close to risk-free as possible.
Sure.
Combination of all of these together will help.
Okay. Another piece of data, and Yashish, I would love for you to come in on this. Another piece of data that I have got is that 70% plus are not saving for retirement. For those of people who are insurance policies are billed as a safe sort of investment bet. I want to get your comments both on savings and also how perhaps Indians are looking at different insurance policies as a way perhaps of saving. Would you like to see that changing? Are you happy with how things are?
So I think the two are separate matters, Sunanda, in my humble opinion. Number one, people disregarding saving for retirement is a big disservice to themselves. I can just give you a very simple example. My grandfather retired in 1977 and his last drawn salary was 700 rupees. He retired as a colonel from the Indian Army. And he expired a couple of years ago, and his last drawn pension was 1.26 lakh rupees per month. And I want to just leave that thought out there that somebody who was drawing 700 rupees as a salary eventually was drawing a pension of 1.26 lakh rupees within their lifetime. Maybe India will not grow as fast in the future as it did in the past, or whatever, this level of change. Now, coming to which instrument should one use? My view is when you are investing for the long term, I think you got to be in a bit of a combination of equities, gold, real estate, because equities will give you the growth and the flexibility or the liquidity which even gold would provide to some extent, but it would provide some level of sustenance, in the sense of some level of you can kind of be holding some material thing, and also the real estate will help you over a period of time. Things do tend to grow, and there is eventually limited real estate. So I think a combination would help. But again, we are talking about people who have a lot of wealth. I think the culture of saving small amounts needs to come in the very young as well. And there are purposes people have. So, they might have, within 1 year, they may have expense coming up, their children going to a college or something of that sort. And so for that, you can't put your money in equities. If you have short-term goals, then maybe fixed deposits, etc., are okay for you, which is what I have used for much of my life, because every August my children's fees needed to be paid, and it was pretty much my entire salary. So it was a joke in our office that all the money used to go into FDs, finishing on 30th of August, and 30th of August all the money was gone, right? And I couldn't risk putting it in any other asset, because suppose there was even a 10% deviation, I wouldn't be able to pay my children's fees. So I think there are people who are in that situation from a short-term perspective. But if I'm looking at long-term, I wouldn't advise fixed deposits, etc., as a means to save money longer term. That would definitely be equities. And now coming to the question of insurance, you have to see the particular product. I am not here to say that you should plan your retirement only through the insurance route. There are some good products there which will help you, and provide some safety. And there are some very expensive products which you should avoid. Whatever, and please do your own research. Don't believe anybody else, because please understand, whoever is selling you the product is selling you because they get commission out of it.
Sure.
Right. So please do your own research. And I think the second thing I wanted to mention, treat insurance as a protection item. Sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes a person dies, sometimes a person falls sick. Make sure you have protection against that, and serious protection against that. Not through, investment cum insurance products, but pure insurance products.
Let's take a quick break. On that note, we're back in just a moment. Just stay tuned. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight, we're bringing you a masterclass on taking care of your wealth health. This question is to the entire panel. If you have 5 lakhs as far as liquid funds are concerned, what's the best investment option given the current market situation? Open to the 4 of you. Nilesh, if I could request you to take this on first.
Well, there is a saying which says that never ask a barber whether you require haircut or not. If you ask a mutual fund manager, he will say simply invest in mutual fund. So keeping my selfish interest away, if you have 5 lakh rupee and you want to invest, there are 2 options. One, go to wealth manager like Nitin Jain, and he will devise a financial plan depending upon your investment objective and what is more suitable. Or you can choose an asset allocator product of a mutual fund where we put money between debt, equity, real estate and offshore fund. So depending upon your investment objective, you can choose a mutual fund, or you can go to a financial advisor to get a tailor-made plan for you.
What should an ideal investment and saving strategy be for someone who's 35 years of age? To a young entrepreneur on the panel, Nikhil, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I guess he can take more risk than an older person, so higher equity exposure would probably be prudent. Considering where the markets are today, I'll tell you what I'm doing. At this point of time, I'm probably like 50% equity and 50% fixed income. To get fixed income exposure, I like the tax-free stuff, like the Indian Railways, National Highways kind of tax-free paper that the government puts out. So 50% would be that, and 50% would be large cap equity. I like sticking to large cap equity because over a multi-year cycle, these typically give you some amount of coverage when things do not work out very well. But this 50-50 should change. The markets are at a 40 multiple right now, and maybe 50-50 makes sense. If the markets were to correct, he can increase his equity exposure and reduce the fixed income component of his portfolio.
To the rest of the panel, if I can, broad base this and talk about, Nikhil has been speaking about someone who's say in the 30-35 age group category. If we can broad base it and to both Nilesh as well as Nitin, if you could please talk to our audience. If we can look at different age groups, different age categories and talk about asset allocation, what would you want to tell them? How much should they be looking at, what asset class, at what stage of their life perhaps? Nitin? Is that something you can take on first?
I think the most important part of any kind of a financial plan is having very, very clear objectives. And obviously, it is a function of your current age. It's a function of your risk appetite. It's a function of what you want to achieve. But very generically speaking, let's just take a few examples so that it just becomes more real. Let's say you are a 35-year-old and you are thinking about let's say retirement at an age of 60, and I'm just not in that camp of retiring early, etc. And now you want to do a financial planning. So this is one big goal, right? At a 60. So you want to do some kind of planning for, this is one big goal that you have, for which you need to have some kind of an asset allocation. What you need to do is you need to plan backward. You need to think, okay, 25 years down the line, I need this kind of a corpus, given this kind of inflation. So if I have to reach this kind of money, how much do I need to save and invest over this period of time? And what kind of compounding would you need? So you would realize very quickly that compounding is a very strange animal. If you give itself time, it can actually make a very, very big difference. So a simple demonstration of that is that if you were to, let's say, go into something like equities, starting today, the multiple, let's say, and you save 10 rupees, the compounding might take you to, let's say, 100. Whereas if you were to stay in fixed income, it might take you to only 3 rupees. And hence, to do some long-term planning, you will have to make a lot more allocation to equities. And hence, for a long-term goal, for something like retirement, etc., advice typically would be a large part of your money has to go into something like equities. And generally, our advice to people who are not very focused on investing, who are not all time into market, is to go through mutual funds and go through typically either multi-cap or go through typically large cap mutual funds. And a thumb rule that people generally use is 100 minus age of the person.
Sure.
So let's say your age is 35, a general thumb rule will become 100 minus 35, that is 65. So 65% of your capital can go into equities. So this is one simple thumb rule that one can use, and 35% goes into debt. But when you're planning for, let's say, short term, as I said in the beginning, always be very, very cautious of equity. Anything less than 3 years, our advice always is focus on fixed income. And in fixed income also, there are a lot of very interesting products that are available in the market. Something that Nikhil talked about, tax-free instruments, which give you 4.5-5% tax-free return. But then there are also instruments like Bharat Bond, which are available in the market, which post-tax give you something like 6.5. If you have slightly longer horizon available to you, these are basically AAA PSU debt instruments, but you have to hold them for 4 or 5 years to deliver around 5.5-6% post-tax return, 200-300 basis point higher than what you will make post-tax on the fixed deposits in the market. But use these instruments smartly to create, over a period of time, all of these a big delta to your portfolio. And a lot of people, out of laziness, just go into fixed deposits, etc. And that is one thing that we would advise again.
Nilesh?
So let me just give some generic advice on retirement.
Okay.
But for my parents' generation, I was their retirement solution. And at least I believe I am a good kid. I am taking good care of my mother, but she may have a different opinion. it's extremely important to have financial independence so that you don't depend upon your kids for your retirement solution. Number two, retirement is all about financial independence. Once you have financial independence, you can probably keep on working for long. The third thing about retirement is that, many people become risk averse as they approach towards retirement. But courtesy medical science, most of us are going to probably live far more post-retirement than our working life. That means you'll have to work very, very hard on your retirement corpus, or you'll have to start working in the life. And let me share one example of two PSU bankers whom I knew. If you remember, in the mid-90s, PSU banks offered voluntary retirement schemes. And both these gentlemen retired at mid-management somewhere in their late 50s. One guy went into bonds which were delivering 16% return in those days. Other gentlemen unfortunately took my advice and started investing in mutual funds and started practicing asset allocation.
Yeah.
He had a fairly volatile time. His portfolio moved up and down. But in 2003, when interest rates had come down from 16% to 6 and 7%, the first person had to actually go out and seek a job after taking a voluntary retirement.
Yeah.
The second person, as long as I remained in touch with him, was reasonable on his retirement corpus, investing across various asset classes and generating good return. So when you're thinking of retirement, please remember it's retirement from work. It's not retirement from managing your money. You have to take care of your money so that it can take care of you.
Out of time on part 1 of how you should be managing your wealth and wealth management solutions from India's biggest known wealth managers. We're going to bring you part 2 though, diving into some specific stocks, also taking all of the questions which have come to us from you, our audience who joined us for our masterclass. Do stay tuned for that. For tonight, it's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Which sectors do you think in 2021 you would be keeping your eyes on? Where do you think the maximum growth perhaps will come in from?
I hate the SPAC model wherein innovative companies in India are raising capital from outside. I think for the people of our country to be able to participate in the innovation happening in Flipkart and Ola and Olo and all of these companies is important. Notwithstanding that, in the listed companies that we have, I think IT is a decent space to hide.
I just feel very positive on the business cycle. I think insurance in financial services particularly look very attractive to me.